because of that fear that we find ourselves, unfortunately, not doing that same level of homework that is needed. Yet we may end up in Allah's court. When we do that nikah, we are going into a contract, a covenant with our spouse, but also with our maker. Now imagine signing a contract with Allah. What does that mean to you? You're signing a contract with your creator. Now there are few things we do in life that we sign a contract with our maker, other than when we make a decision to be Muslim. But when we invoke Allah's name to be a witness to our nikah, it is a covenant between us and our maker. And this is where we don't make mistakes. We have to do the same effort. We have to put in the same amount of research to know what does our maker want from us in this contract we are going into with him. So the first tip I will share with you is to know your rights and know your obligations, because that is what Allah is going to ask you about. That is what that contract is about, that you're getting married for the propagation of the ummah, yes. But getting married to this person requires you to come in with certain prerequisites knowledge and to fulfill certain obligations. That is what Allah is going to ask you about, whether you did or you didn't do. And that is what we will get a lot of Jannah Barakah for. Now, many of us put in the meticulousness to know how to do wudu properly. We do a lot of homework to know how to have khushu in our salat. We do so much research when we're going for Hajj or Umrah to make sure we do the rituals right and we don't mess up and lose barakah. But guess what? The Hajj, the Umrah, care for the sick, the charity, the zakat, put all those together. Those are what constitute half of your faith, half of your ibadah. Doing marriage right is what constitutes the other half. Imagine that is where most of us neglect. That is where, in fact, in marriage, the worst of human beings comes out. It is in marriage that we see people who are oppressed, broken, abused. It is in marriage where we see couples miserable, where children grow up being dysfunctional, where they are damaged because of what they witness in the home. And if we go back to doing our homework and understanding what are the obligations we owe our spouse and what are our rights, right there, we have the foundation for a happy home. Fulfilling your obligations to your spouse is what fulfills half of your ibadah, not the nikah. And ignorance is not an excuse. So you may be married 5, 10 years now. Wallahi, Allah will not give you the excuse of ignorance because you didn't know what your obligations are to one another. We will have to answer to Allah, like I said, for what we did or what we did not do. Now, if you're yet to get married, I ask you, please do not waste money, time, and energy on the bling bling that everybody is into, making sure they have flashy pictures to show off. They had this event, they had this makeup artist, they had this wedding outfit. Wallahi, it does not matter. A month after the wedding, that's when you realize, oh, that was nothing, because the reality of married life has begun. So don't go for the superficial over the substance. And don't go into traditional and cultural rituals that go against what Allah wants from us. Sometimes we put so much burden on one another because it's culture. But if it is a burden, Allah does not want that. There is no barakah in there. So don't waste your time because they didn't bring enough kola nut and this and that. It isn't about that. It goes against what Allah wants from us. But where you should put your heart, your soul, your energy is when it comes to spouse selection. That's where you have to be careful because your spouse can make or break you. This is where you have to do your homework, investigate thoroughly, talk and over-talk before you say I do. And don't ignore warning signs. With my husband and I are counseling couples whose marriage is on the rock. When we start asking them searching questions to know, when did the problem begin? When did you start seeing the signs? You hear they saw it before they did the nikah, but they ignored it in the mistaken belief that maybe after the marriage, oh, I will fix that problem. It doesn't get fixed. one of the first things I give is as advice is know your rights and obligations and do your homework and do not ignore warning signs. Do not ignore warning signs. It is Allah showing you signs before you say I do. Because you're praying, you're doing istikhara, you're asking Allah to show you that this is the right decision for your sake, for the sake of your children, for the sake of the ummah. And he starts showing you warning signs where you're unsettled, but you're so in love that you feel, oh no, we'll fix this later. It doesn't get fixed. Another warning